now I came back to Power BI. There are a few more steps that I can do. Okay, so for example, just give me a minute here. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to do some of these modeling steps here. So you noticed that when I'm in the relationship or the model view, if I click on any of this, there's nothing that comes up in the modeling tab. But when I go to the data view or the report view and I click on one of these dimensions, it has a lot of options in the modeling tab. So let's go to the data view. I think it's better that way. You can look at the data also. So for example, let's take the example for, I think let's take the sales data, which has a lot of these, right? So I'm going to minimize these two. And I'm going to focus completely on sales data. By the way, if you look at the fields here, you see that there are some icons here, just like how you saw in the query editor where it says ABC was text type. And you see these auto sum. This is the auto sum symbol, right? The sigma, which is nothing but it shows that that's a metric. Okay. So I'm going to click on sales data. Now the sales data shows up here and on all of these metrics. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is it has a date dimension also. It has all of these. Now what I'm going to do is I can change, some of the properties of these columns. That's also something that data modeling allows me to do. So what are the different types? So let's take revenue, for example, ordered revenue. Okay, ordered revenue. When I click ordered revenue, it gets highlighted over here. This is ordered revenue. Now there's something that I want to change about this, this formatting tab. Let's look at some of the options there. So it says the data type is whole number, which is okay, which is a whole number. Format is whole number, but in format there are a few options. So the same options that you see here, those options are available over here as well. What if I want to change this to currency? Because it's revenue, right? Revenue is a monetary value, which is currency. So I want to probably change it to some currency, and I'm going to select maybe the common selected ones, right? Maybe let's use dollars, US dollars. You see how it shows up as US dollars. Let me see if Indian rupee is in here somewhere. Oh, it's a long search, by the way. I don't see a search icon also, which means I'll have to go through all of this, which will take a lot of time, which I won't do right now. But for now, you can try exploring on your own. I just selected US dollars, and you notice what are the two things it changed? It added a dollar symbol, plus it also added this comma separator. Okay, what is this comma separator? You already know. And this will follow the international, the millions, not the Indian numerical system. So after 6 digits, you'll find another comma, which is for the millions, not for lakhs. So you need to speak in terms of millions, because that's what makes more sense if your clients are especially North American or European clients. Okay, so then that's one type of formatting I can do. If a number that's in here is supposed to be a percentage and not a number, for example, this one, I'll change this to percentage. It's ideally not a percentage value, but I'm just doing this for an example's sake. I'm going to undo that change. Again, here you don't have the applied steps query. Okay, what can you do to undo over here? You need to click, you need to go back and do the same steps again. I don't think Control Z works over here either. So I think it works in the visualization tab, but in the report tab, but not over here. So I'm going to manually undo this change. And there's this comma separator, the one for comma separator. So let's do that for shipped revenue. If I add the comma separator, it will give me the comma separator. So it's better to look for the numbers to look like this, right? When you're showing some of these aggregated numbers as a sum or average in your final dashboard, it's good to have these kind of comma separators. And there's also this decimal places. If when you especially work with financial services clients like banks, for instance, banks will definitely make sense for them to have the numbers which says 0.03 or 0.05, because they're very specific about that. They cannot they won't allow you to round off the numbers to the nearest nearest whole number. So that's one example. but for others, you don't need exactly the point. Decimals don't make sense, right? So you can change the decimals, you can include it or not choose to include it if you want. So you adjust the number of decimal points. If I add this to 2 decimal points, it will show me 2 decimal points. But since the actual data did not have any decimal points, it's going to give me 000 for all of those. I'm going to undo that change. But that's something, this quick set of formatting options that you have over here. And there is also something called as properties. So what is the properties? Default summarization. What is default summarization? It's how you would like to summarize a column. So for example, if you are pulling this column into one of the charts, for example, shift revenue against every product in a chart, and you would like to see the average instead of sum. So you change the default summarization to show as average. And in your actual chart, it will show up as average. You won't see anything changing here because that's not the row level data that's changing. All these values will remain the same. But when I pull shift revenue into a column, it will change the default summarization as average. Okay. You wanna try and see that? I think I'll give you the time to do the exercise. If you still want to try and show you guys in the graph, I can do that. But there's also something like don't summarize, count, maximum, minimum, distinct count, and all of that. So I'm going to change this back to sum. Data category is uncategorized. Okay, so there's these different types of categories. This is primarily for dimension data. You see, a lot of dimension data can be categorized as city, country, continent. So where do I do that? There's another table which has location data, right? Let's use that location table. Location data. I go to country. So country column is currently uncategorized, but I can categorize that as a country / region. By the way, county is something different. Especially in US, there are different counties. It's like, smaller regions. So country / region is something that I can use, right? So this country is now a country / region. Why does that make sense? Because country regions are identified and can be used in something like map visualization. If you're using a map to show which countries are highlighted, that data type will that column data will have to be classified as a country type data. Then only the maps will recognize that, okay, if it's USA, then I should show the USA as shaded. So the city here, let's choose that. Currently it's uncategorized. It hasn't defined or auto detected that relation, but I can call this a city. So now this is a city data type. So it's not changing anything in the data. It's just identifying the data as a city category, which will help you in your visualizations better. Okay. So if you find any metric not not performing well, not showing up correctly, or doesn't have the comma separator, this is where you have to come back, add the formatting, change the data type, and the formatting and all of that over here in the modeling tab. So you can do that either from the report view, select one of the items and change it from here, or from the data view, but it doesn't work in the model view. Okay. So that's about some of the options that you have for formatting. Let's also try and create a new measure, a new calculated measure. Okay, so I'm going to create a quick new measure here. So in one of the, okay, let's create that here for now. I've selected location data right now, and I'm going to create a new measure, which is, and you'll find the same example in the exercise document also. So I'm going to create a month till date ordered revenue metric. Okay. So all of you can go back and open up your exercise sheets. If you can go back and open up your exercise sheets, you will see some of this exercises. I think this is the last one. After this, you'll be able to go. Okay, yes, great. So in calculations, there are these three options which we're going to talk about now: a new measure, new column, and new table. Okay. So I'm going to add a new measure, and I'm going to just select location data. Randomly, I'm going to select on any table and just click on new measure. Okay. And I want to call this measure as, sorry, having some acidity trouble. MTD revenue. Okay, MTD. So MTD, YTD, QTD. Does anybody know what is MTD, YTD, or QTD? I'll type this up here just for you to see. YTD, QTD. or even could even be WTD to help you. Month till date, year till date, week till date, quarter till date. Okay, so for those people, okay, by mistake, no worries. For those people who are not familiar with these terminologies, these are something you will see a lot when you are doing, when you're doing analysis and when you are reporting for your clients. MTD is nothing but the month till date data. And what does that mean? At any date of a month, what is the data till now? Okay, so maybe you're on the 15th of January and you want to see, okay, by end of January, I have to make sure there's $10,000 in revenue. What is the month till date revenue, which is till 15th, which is till date means till today. Okay, month, the value of that revenue column for the current month till today. Okay, and the sum of that, or maybe the average of that, or whatever aggregation you want to do. So that's month till date. So sum of all the revenue from day 1 to day 15. When you're on the date, on the 20th date, the month till date value will change, which is the sum of revenue from day 1 till day 20. You understand what that's a week till date. Now I'm going to calculate one for month till date revenue. So all I'm going to do is use a total MTD. There's already a set of functions. And I'm going to use a sum of revenue, right? So I just search for revenue and I find, these different suggestions already there in the drop down. So what does this suggestion say? The sales data in quotes, single quotes, that's the name of the table, as you can see here. And this is whatever you see in square brackets is the name of the column in that. So I'm going to probably do it for MTD shipped revenue. Okay. I can use the tab, okay, to select it, the tab on the keyboard to select it. And I also have to, so I'm just closing the brackets for the sum. And then see, at all points, you're seeing this help text. Don't worry, I'm going to explain this all over again. Don't worry. This is a bit complicated when you're doing it the first time. But you see a help text here for something, right? Total MTD. So you have to use expression. So expression is the sum expression that I used. And then I have to choose the dates. So I'm going to choose a date value. So I just type date. I see there's already a date column. These are all functions. These are fields. So I'm not going to use a function. I'm going to use a field, which is one of the fields, which is the purchase date. So based on purchase date is when I want to calculate the month value. And in purchase date, since this is a date value, it is giving me all of this custom, like, should I choose date? Should I choose the day, the month? I'm going to choose the date. Again, press tab. And there's also filter that you can add if you want to add any filters. But I don't want to add any filters. Just close that bracket and click on enter. Since this is month till date for shipped revenue, I'm going to name this as MTD shipped revenue. Click enter. You see the changes happen here. The name will change to MTD shipped revenue. Okay, MTD shipped revenue is nothing but month till date shipped revenue. And how did I calculate it? I used this simple formula. So I'm going to create one more of this metric, calculated metric. So, I just need to click someplace else, that one will go away. But when I click it, it will show up. But it's already created. There's also this kind of an arrow, which will help you understand if there are any syntax errors. Like, for example, if I don't add this last bracket and click on enter, it will have some kind of errors. So I just click on enter. Give me a second while I arrow, the bracket got added on its own. Okay, it auto corrects, I think. Okay. Not clear. Okay, I will repeat this. Don't worry. Yeah, it's adding that on its own, by the way. So if there is a significant error and due to some reason this measure is not working, you will find more details in this arrow column. Okay, just for your information. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another metric just for you guys to understand a bit more. So this is what I did. I went to modeling, create a new measure. Okay. And why do you want to create new measures? Because the set of data that you have in Excel will not always be what you need to show the clients what they want to see. they will have a specific set of key performance indicators or some kind of ratio or percentage or that kind of thing, which is where you need to create these calculated measures. So you see the calculator icon here, which indicates that this is a new measure which was calculated. Okay, and calculated measures are something that you need to create customized metrics that is custom to answer the questions of the client, a ratio or a percentage or any other calculation for that matter, YTD and all of that. So I'm going to create a YTD one for now. I'm going to call it YTD. So pay attention if you're not able to understand previously. The first part of this, and this is called DAX, by the way. Okay? Use a notepad. DAX, this is called DAX query. That's just the DAX language. It's just the language that I'm using to create this calculator. Yes, you're correct. So DAX is the language that is used over here. That's the syntax or the format in which you need to write and code to create new calculated queries, calculated measures. And it has a lot of functions. It's just similar to how Excel has a lot of functions. It just, you don't need to learn all of the functions or nobody, even a Power BI expert, would know maybe the top 50 most useful functions, but not all of them, right? So anytime you have to do some custom calculation, there may be a function for that. You just need to figure it out. And the syntax is pretty simple. So the first part of it will start with how I want to name this. Okay, so I want to call this my YTD. Do it for ordered revenue this time. YTD ordered revenue. This is the name of the measure. Okay, and then I use an equal symbol, just like how you would do in your Excel. In Excel, you start a formula with an equal symbol, if you remember, right? Then once I start typing, so I already know that I'm going to use a YTD formula, YTD function. So any letter that I type, I get a list of functions. And if I hover over any of this function, it will also give me the, what it does. So what's total YTD do? Let's look at the help text. It evaluates the specified expression over the interval, which begins on the first day of the year and ends with the last date in the specified date column after applying the specified filters. Okay, so that's why you need a date column also. Okay, so how can I select this total YTD? Two ways to do it. One, I can double click, or I just double clicked on that list, or I can click or select this, or I can use the down up arrows to select it. I use the down arrow to select it and click on tab on my keyboard to select it. Okay, and then it gives me a more detailed expression. So the help text you see is similar here, but it also shows me the syntax or the way in which you need to enter details here. So one is you need to add the expression here. So the expression is more or less the aggregation that you want to do. So in this case, I want to take a sum of those values, right? All the sum of the revenues is what I want to do. If I want to do an average, I can do average also, right? There are different functions. You can explore these functions. How can you learn more about these functions? Just going to the help text will understand a bit more, or you can go to the Power BI website and there's a lot of documentation there on different DAX functions, how it works. We're not going to cover a lot of DAX functions because that's again a bit more of intermediate, not basic, but you can explore it a bit on your own and we can figure questions out later. So I'm going to take a sum of ordered revenue. So I'm going to search for ordered revenue. And then, while I typed sum also, by the way, while I typed sum, you can see sum came up, all of this came up. Again, I'm clicking the tab and then, I can take a sum of any of this, right? By the way, sum of brand will not give me the correct one because it's a dimension. It will still give me that option, but it won't calculate, by the way. So don't, in case you're wondering. Okay, ordered revenue. I'm going to select ordered revenue. So it came up and it shows, like I said before, it has the table name and the column name. So just in case you wanted to take, there are ordered revenue in multiple tables, you will be able to find the right table from the right table if you wanted to select that. I'm going to click on tab again. Okay. And what do I need to do? Sum, column name, and then the brackets. So I'm going to close the brackets. Now I'm back in the scope of the previous one, which is a total YTD function. So in that total YTD expression is done. So I can add a comma now. So you see the syntax, right? It has expression and a comma, and then the dates. So I'm going to add the date, and then it gives me a lot of date functions. I don't want to use the date functions. I want to use the date field. And again, I click on tab. So the date is selected, and the next is, it's asking me date ka kaun sa portion lena hai. and it only gives me this for date functions, because the date fields, because date fields can be customized, like you saw yesterday how you could take start of year, start of month, or date, or day, month. It has some customizations that are available. So I'm going to choose the date here again, double click, and I am going to add, so I can also add filter and year and date. That's optional though, because it is like in a square bracket, right? This is all I need as a mandatory expression and dates, and everything else is optional. If I want to add filters, I don't want to add any filters right now, so I'm gonna close the bracket and it's done. So when you close the bracket, you see this rectangle which shows that okay, it's the first opening bracket that is now closed. I click on enter. I don't think honestly I can explain any bit beyond that. So I've explained almost everything that's there in it. But this is how a DAX query works, or a DAX function. Shift revenue, it says home table location data. So I can change the home table from location data to sales data. Now you'll see this getting disappear from here. Now it will show up under sales data. Similarly, I want to change ordered revenue and I want to move this to sales data table, because that's where the ordered revenue is. I don't want this under location data, right? So I'm going to select this home table, change it to sales data. So it got moved to sales data table. Now, okay, let me move that back to, okay, location data for a reason. I'm going to do that back to location data. Okay, I just moved that back to location data. Now, you're probably wondering, you're on location data in the data view, but you're not seeing that MDD one which is created here, right? Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say here? You have city, country, store ID, and region, but you don't have MTD shift revenue. Why is that not there in my data view? So that's something you also need to know. Your calculated metrics will only show up when you use them in your visualizations or your charts. It won't show up in your data view. And why? Because it is aggregating some of the data. It is not row level data. Okay, it is not one value for each of the rows. However, it is a value which gets aggregated, and it will summarize that set of data points, and it will show up in your visualization. So it won't show up in your data view. Okay, that's about the create new measure. Now let's also show, I'll also show you guys. So let me move this back to the sales table, home table, back to sales data. I moved this back to sales data. Now I click on sales data, and I'm going to create okay, let's not create a measure now. I can create a new table. So I'm going to click on new table, and I'm going to use the name of the table should be something like distinct products. Okay? And distinct products table, okay, is equal to distinct. I'm going to use the distinct function. So what does distinct do? You can read the help text. It returns a one column table, okay, which contains the distinct values in a column, right? Which are the unique values in that column. So I'm going to add the distinct function, and I'm going to use one of the columns. So which column should I use? Product side. So product. In product, I want to do it for the product data. So I'm going to select product. I can also use enter, by the way, not just tab. I can use double click, enter, or tab to make it pop up here. I'm going to click on enter, and what you will see upon that is another table got created, which is distinct products, which will have only one column, okay, which has only the distinct or the unique value of the products. Okay, this is just an example. If you're asking me why did I create this now, there's no point why I did this now, but I just wanted to show you that you can create a new table, and when you're creating a new table, see, you're using a DAX expression to create a new table. You're creating a DAX expression to create a new measure, right? So these are how you can create you can do additional modeling to create custom calculated metrics and calculated tables and other calculated columns as well. It works the same way. So that's just an example. Now you can go back and complete the rest of the steps in the exercise document. So we spoke about the remaining steps, which is step number 14 and step number 15. I think we didn't talk about 15. Let me go back and quickly show you how 15 works also. So this is about hierarchy. Okay. how can you create hierarchies, and what is a hierarchy? A hierarchy is nothing but, if you want to drill down the data, which we will do a bit more in the next session, you need to create hierarchies. Hierarchy is nothing but one on top of the other. Okay, I'm going to stack some of these into a hierarchy. So I'm going to create a location hierarchy, or let's create a product hierarchy. Okay, so which one will be the topmost if I create a product? The upper the upper one in the hierarchy would be the umbrella one. Okay, the one under which the others would fall. So let's look at it. In here, brand would be the first one, then category, then subcategory, product, and then the SKU code, which is the individual product ID. Okay, so I'm going to create a hierarchy. All I'm going to do is category. I'm going to drag and drop it over to brand from this same table. So if you can see it, category over to brand, and it creates a new hierarchy, which is the brand. It is called the brand hierarchy. I want to rename it to something like product hierarchy. So I'm going to rename it as product hierarchy. And under product hierarchy, it has brand and category now. So you see brand and category, it already is there as standalone, but it also creates something like a hierarchy. So brand, category. I want to also add subcategory to this. I'm going to click subcategory and drag it over into this hierarchy. Now I added subcategory also into this hierarchy, and product also. I want to add product also to this hierarchy, and then finally the SKU code. Now, if the order is a bit different from what you see here, you'll find that screenshot in the exercise document of how the order should be. But if you find that the order is a bit different, all you need to do is right click, move up or down as you want to do it. Okay, so right click, move down. You can change the order in which the hierarchy needs to be. But what it does, it doesn't do anything here. You won't see anything different here, but we will talk about that in the next visualization section, how you are going to use this hierarchy and how this is going to enable you to do some drill downs into your dashboard. So you will get a clarity of what we are trying to do using these hierarchies. But for now, just understand how you can create this hierarchy. So I'm going to create a similar one for location also. So which is the largest one in location? It is the country. It's the region. Region is nothing but North America, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and then Asia and Asia Pacific. So this is the region. So that's like a continent, so that will be at the top, and then country will be the next one. So I'm going to drag country over onto region, which will give me a hierarchy, which is region hierarchy, region and country. And I'm going to call this my location hierarchy. Just click on it and change the name to location hierarchy. Region, country, and under country, it should have city. So I'm going to add city, and then I'm also going to add store ID. Okay, so it's just drag and drop. I created these hierarchies. So you can see all of them, staying as standalone ones, and you also see a hierarchy one. We'll explain more about the usage of this, but for now, just understand how to create the hierarchies. Like I said, I will repeat, if you want to change the order in which it was, it is kept, you can just use the move up or move down to actually change the order in which it was created. I believe that is all that we had, and we also did the